place. So if you're from that area, you really need to get out there and talk to your friends, your family, take it into other organisations that you're part of, and really get the word spreading that the Republicans are pushing their agenda really hard this year, which we knew was coming. Let's face it, we absolutely knew that was coming. So we need to counter that, absolutely. So there we go, that's a couple of events. I think there's 5 or 6 mentioned there that are in the Wishaw and Motherwell area. We'll post all them online as well so you can see them in black and white. So yeah, the move was spoken about by everyone. It was all over the internet. 2 loyalist groups, to my knowledge, posted a statement out confirming their position on it. Then we had newspapers from Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, and even Republic of Ireland. They were all printing about it, and everyone was kind of talking, and the police were involved, and councillors were involved, and everybody was putting their own bit in. And it's all came to a point now where it is looking highly unlikely that the flag will go up. But like I said at the start of the show, we need to keep the pressure firmly on, and that's really what we aim to do.
On a cold winter's morning, on a bus bound for Milltown, there sat Michael Stone, armed with hand grenades and guns, with a smile as sleek as a snake, my friend, and a duffel coat to his knees. He sat in the chapel with Jerry and Martin and listened to their Hail Marys. As he walked into the cemetery and he spoke to the guards again. They just waved and winked at him as he walked on by, and he stood in the crowds with all the people as if he was one of their own. But as soon as they started talking in Irish, Michael began to throw. Well, he knew when to hold them, knew when to throw them, knew when to run, but he just walked away. And the Fenians started chasing him. There was 20 dozen more. Michael stopped, had a wee look and threw a couple more. Well, he knew when to hold them, knew when to throw them, knew when to run, but he just walked away. And the Fenians started chasing him. There was 20 dozen more. Michael stopped, had a wee look and threw a couple more. On a cold winter's morning, on a bus bound for Milltown, there sat Michael Stone, armed with hand grenades and guns, with a smile as sleek as a snake, my friend, and a duffel coat to his knees. He sat in the chapel with Jerry and Martin and listened to their Hail Marys. Well, he walked into the cemetery and spoke to the guards again. They just waved and winked at him as he walked on by, and he stood in the crowds with all the people as if he was one of their own. But as soon as they started talking in Irish, Michael began to throw. Well, he knew when to hold them, knew when to throw them, knew when to run, but he just walked away. And the Fenians started chasing him. There was 20 dozen more. Michael stopped, had a wee look and threw a couple more. Well, he knew when to hold them, knew when to throw them, knew when to run, but he just walked away. And the Fenians started chasing him. There was no hedges or alleys, but it was Michael 3, Milltown 0, Chucky your bollocks. Well, he knew when to hold them, knew when to throw them, knew when to run, but he just walked away. And the Fenians started chasing him. There was no hedges or alleys, but it was Michael 3, Milltown 0, Chucky your bollocks.
Hi folks, thanks for tuning in. This is PO Community Radio, broadcasting live from the PO Community Hub. Tonight's show is all about North Lanarkshire Council and that flag. We've got a caller on the line, Lutheran. Welcome, Lutheran.
Thank you very much, Chris.
How you doing, mate? Alright?
Yes.
I'm keen to see what you've got, to hear what you've got to say, and I'm pretty sure the listeners are as well. If I can just open up the show to yourself and you can on, mate.
Sure, mate. I mean, what it's all about here is, to me, there's a bigger enemy out there just now. The enemy we've got in front of us, and we've had in our time, has always been the Republican movement, or I call it the pan-nationalist movement, between Northern Ireland and our own country, Scotland, and even the UK. I see a bigger terror threat and a bigger, more sinister movement, and that's the Scottish National Party in our country. What's happened over the last few years, obviously, with the Scottish Nationalists gaining a bit of movement up here, is they've actually had infiltration and movement from the Republicans, who have moved in and basically boosted the figures of the Scottish National Party. Now, we only had to look at the vote the other day, where 6 Scottish Nationalist MPs voted in favour of that flag flying, okay, above the NLC buildings. Now, that is just a minuscule about what the Scottish National Movement is actually all about here in Scotland. If you look at Scottish National Party just now, and you look at the mandates in the past of the Sinn Féin mandates in Northern Ireland, they are almost to a T similar. They're a mirror image of each other. And I use the word comically, but it's not really that funny anymore. Is when I call the Scottish National Party Sinn Féin light, because that's what it is. It's Sinn Féin with a kilt here. Now, as I say, they've actually boosted their numbers because they've been very clever about it. In my days of growing up in the shipyards, we used to always say, the way the nationalists and the kind of Roman Catholic vote when they were getting nowhere and they screamed to the rooftops, we get nowhere in life. These guys moved into positions through the trade union movement. And everybody but their granny will know that the trade union movement boosted throughout the years. If you looked at every top brass member of the union movement, they were all Roman Catholic members, because that was their foothold into the movement, into the political sense and into the political world. Hence, Scotland started to be overrun by Labour councillors who we know, to our cost over the past many, many years, that they've actually turned more RC than they have our old Protestant Unionist way of life. You only have to look at the set-up when it comes to Lord Provost in Glasgow. We had Sir William Grey, who was the last Protestant Lord Provost, to my knowledge, that sat in that seat there. And yet we get these guys screaming from the rooftops, screaming about inequality in this city and even in Scotland alone, when in fact you go from judges to the Procurator Fiscals, you go to Lord Provost, etc. It's all Roman Catholic dominated. Now, I say never take your eye off the ball. And I say this to all the PLU community, Vanguard Bears and the Regimental Blues boys. Your enemy in front of you is the Republican movement. That we will not waver from. But the bottom line is, they're not such a clever crowd, the Republican movement, in one aspect. They tend to let us know what they're doing, and that gives us an open goal. The more sinister, in my humble opinion, is the Scottish nationalists, who have embroiled and brought themselves on board the Republicans. You only to look at this week. Where was Alex Salmond and Hamza Youssef and the rest of them? They were in the Govan Arms, pouring pints for all their regulars. And the picture, and the photo snap showed them proudly standing there with the Govan Emerald CSC pictures behind them.
Yes, but
do you see them coming up into the PLU hub? Maybe giving a wee signature with the boys and their arm around each other, say we're all working together here because we're all good Scots and Jock Tamson's bairns.
Absolutely,
I don't think so.
See that. No,
I don't think so either, Chris. So just my message tonight to everybody out there is, yeah, sure, we know we're enemy. And I've known my enemy since, God, the many years I've been able to stand on my feet and think for myself. And it is the Republicans. And to my dying day, I'll be on my toes fighting the Republican movement in this country and abroad, wherever they may be. But I urge every Protestant out there, and I use the word Protestant, Protestant, because I stand at Ibrox and I sit at Ibrox, and it appalls me and turns my stomach to think that somebody's sitting beside me. We have them at Ibrox who voted this party into power up here. Yeah. And I say as a warning to them, don't think it stops at that, because when they get overall control, your Rangers might not be any longer, your Protestant Orange Order might not be any longer, and you might not have any more marches, because I can see the future in Glasgow where Orange parades will be down to a fun fair in a park one day. You won't even be marching in the streets. So it's about time to awaken. It's about time to awaken and vote Protestant. That's the only way forward for here now.
It's like I said, Lutheran, it's like I said, in a statement released for Regimental Blues, when this community decide it's time to push back, there's going to be a major political problem on people's hands, and I still stick to it, and I'll stick to it for as long as I need to. But
we were a movement of people, Chris, where we had everything in our hands. We controlled, and I use the word control. It wasn't a controlling mandate that we kept people down. We controlled, and life was good. But you know what? And I even get back to the loyalist prisoners of many I knew and went to visit. What I'll say about it is when we were making paper hankies with designs on them and drums, these guys were sitting in different rooms studying law, politics, etc. We allowed ourselves to be put into this corner just now. And do you know something? It's going to take a monumental effort for us to turn that back on its head and for us to gain the ascendancy again. But it can happen. And I hope it does happen in my time. But I'll tell you what, it won't be through the fault of yourselves, the Regimental Blue Boys, the PLU and the Vanguard Bears, etc. We will strive and push to get us back on top again. Might be a long, hard road, but we'll get there in the end, mate.
We will do, mate. We will do. I've got every faith in that. I think that the past kind of 3 to 4 months, I think we have seen a change in the PO community, especially in Scotland. I think we've seen the fight starting to come at the forefront of people's minds. People are starting to get that bit of determination back in them.
Yeah, sure.
And willing to go and oppose things. But see, while I've got you on the air, mate, Part of Rock, the councillor who opposed the War Memorial in Carfin, he's a Labour councillor. So I know what you're saying about kind of the bigger enemy being the SNP, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. But we're seeing Labour councillors also jumping ship, siding with the SNP councillors and siding with proposals coming from Irish Republicans. But
Chris, this is old hat, my friend. This is old hat. Because you take yourself back 10, 15, 20 years, just what I spoke about earlier, the last Protestant to sit as a Lord Provost. Mm-hmm. They basically have ran this, and I have to laugh at them. The Labour Party are a unionist party, yet they do not use unionist intentions up in this part of the world anyway. It's always been used as a self-promotion and self-endearing party for Romanists. There's no two ways about it. So our fight as a PLU community hasn't just started just now. It started 20 years ago, maybe even more, Chris. So the Labour Party were always enemy. And I think the Labour Party have actually now found out through the voting alone and really stand in the political spectrum that what they've done in the past has cost them dearly.
Absolutely.
It's cost them dearly. So, no, I mean, I don't sit here as a guy who's never voted Labour in his life for SNP, what have you. I've been a strict conservative and unionist man all my days. Now, people used to say to me it's a lost vote. For the first time ever, I've stuck a Labour vote down at that last election there to try and beat the SNP, and it still wasn't good enough. So that tells you the swing and how much people have been swayed by their gibberish and their talk. The SNP they're a dangerous ball game for us just now. And they seem to be gaining a bit of momentum. Sure, we can look online and we look at websites and we look at things from, SNP have failed this, SNP have failed that. That still doesn't seep out to the masses, because the masses start at 16 years of age, where they've allowed these people to come in and vote now. They've tried to indoctrinate these young people from 16 years upwards. Now, what I'm saying is, if I'm sitting at Ibrox and I find a guy sitting next to me who's voting Scottish National Party, I find that more appalling than a Romanist voting Scottish National Party. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. It really appalls me.
Okay. It's everything seems to be going against us right now.
Sorry, going back to Part of Rook. Part of Rook doesn't surprise me. Part of Rook, along with your Frank Roys and all that of the old Frank Roy, who used to bust the big drum for his Republican flute band and what have you. These guys they actually don't surprise me. I mean, let's not forget Carfin with the Holy Grottos, etc. But can't put a war memorial up to honour its war dead, to give them that freedom and democracy to put up a statue of the Holy Madonna or whoever it may be. They've got that freedom to do that through the guys who are lying now in Flanders Fields and the Somme, etc., and in France elsewhere. We guys that lost their lives and their families and what have you for that. But these guys forget that, Chris. But let me tell you, we don't forget.
Nah, we don't forget. It comes back to a conversation I had with a chap yesterday, when we're mentioning Part of Rourke and the Carfin War Memorial. I think there's definitely appetite there to go for another application to get the War Memorial put in Carfin. Just now that it's getting back to light. Um,